What is going on, everybody? It's Josh here from Old School Cards, and we have episode 14 of our podcast today. Just finished watching both of the championship games, and both the teams I was rooting for did not win. I've been a Commanders fan since I was a kid. Of course, back then they were the Redskins, they were not the Commanders, but there's a lot of promise with that team, so if I seem a little down, that's probably why. But I always told myself I wouldn't get mad. It's okay to be sad when they lose, but we can't be mad because they weren't even expected to be where they are. So, moving right into episode 14, here's our show lineup for you guys today. First, market thoughts. Today we're going to talk about offsetting the cost of your collecting. Second, 600 goal scorer history, and we're talking Jaromir Jagr. Third, blue liner of the week. Fourth, milestone marker, and the topic with that one will be Connor McDavid. Fifth, chasing greatness, our Alex Ovechkin update on the podcast. And sixth, personal pickups. And again, I didn't put everything that I got. I just picked 4 cards, I think, this week that I wanted to show. All right, so let's get right into what we're doing with market thoughts. So this week, I wanted to talk, because we're coming up on tax season, offsetting the cost of our collections. And I'm not going to throw out a ton of numbers, but I can tell you I spent 5 figures on cards this year, and I consider myself a collector, but I also sell cards that I feel that I don't have use for or anything like that. And my sole purpose for that is to offset the cards that I want to add to my personal collection. I want to sell other people cards that they want to put in their personal collection, and I want to take that money and reinvest it into the hobby or put it into my personal collection. So, like I said, 5 figures spent this year, and I can tell you that I was able to offset the cost of my collection by reselling cards that I have no desire to have in my collection by 24.7%. So, if you know that if you spend 5 figures, that's a 4-figure amount. So, I saved myself 4 figures by offsetting my collection costs by getting rid of cards that other people want that I don't need or have a desire for in my collection. So I hope that helps. I'm not going to spend too much time on this topic, but some people use this as a business. Some people use it as a hobby. I would consider it a hobby for myself, not a business. I mean, I have 3 incomes in my family, so one of them is not cards. I have no desire to get rid of all my cards. My goal is to narrow my focus down and find cards that I want to keep in my collection until I pass away, and then my family can move them on to something else. So by no means do I consider myself in the business of cards. I'm a hobbyist, I'm a collector, but having these options makes it very easy to offset some of your collecting costs, especially with the way inflation has been and just trying to make your hobby dollars go farther. One thing I can tell you, it was very easy for me to calculate because my sales are all on the eBay platform. I don't sell anywhere else. Calculating what I spent was a little difficult because of everywhere that I do buy cards, but in a nutshell, 24.7% is not a bad number. Now we're going to move into the next portion of the show, 600 goal scorer history, and I told you we're going with Jagr. I got my notes right here. So November 19th, 2006, Jaromir Jagr became the 16th player all time to score 600 goals. We know that number's to 21, maybe soon to include 22, but As of right now, it's 21. Jagr was the 16th person to do it. And when he scored his 600th goal, he was the captain of the New York Rangers. And that game was a 4-1 win over the Tampa Bay Lightning. So a theme that we're finding is when we have 600 goal scorers, usually when they hit milestones, their teams are winning, which means they're playing on winning teams, probably because they're scoring a lot of goals. So that's a pretty interesting thing, that a connection that I've been making since I've been doing this with the podcast. And I think it's something to note. When you have guys who score goals and goals in volume, they usually win. Jagr, he was drafted 5th overall by the Pittsburgh Penguins in 1990. And many of you can resonate with Jagr because he played for so long. I believe it was 24 NHL seasons. Yeah, 24 NHL seasons, drafted in 1990. So he played in 24 seasons, but it wasn't consecutive. He left and then came back. So he was just playing up until a few years ago. So a lot of people know who Jaromir Jagr is, and he is a 600 goal scorer. Some stats on him. He played in 1,733 games. Sorry guys, my dog was going crazy right there. 1,733 games for Jaromir Jagr. 766 goals, 1,155 assists for a total of 1,921 points with a plus 322 career mark in the NHL. And his point total of 1,921 is second most to Wayne Gretzky, who's the only 2,000 point scorer in NHL history. We mentioned that he played 24 NHL seasons. His best season was in 1995-96 with the Pittsburgh Penguins. In that season, Jagr scored 62 goals, had 87 assists, and 149 points. Big year, almost 150 point season. 5 times in his career he scored 100 points. One time did he have a 60 goal season. He had 3 50 goal seasons. He had 6 40 goal seasons and 14 30 goal seasons. Jaromir Jagr is a 2-time Stanley Cup champion, a 5-time Art Ross Trophy winner. In 98-99, he won the Hart Trophy, and a 3-time Ted Lindsay Award. So if you remember, the Ted Lindsay Award kind of goes with the Hart Trophy. The Hart is the MVP. The Lindsay is the MVP of the league as voted for by the players from the NHL Players Association. He's second all-time in points to Gretzky, and he holds records for right wingers in points and assists. So he's the all-time NHL leading points getter and assist leader at the right wing position. We're going to move now into our third portion of the show, Blue Liner of the Week. This week, we do have another repeat guy from last week. However, it was not Lane Hudson, so you know that means it's Shea Theodore. However, he is not number 1 on the list. He's number 2. Number 1 was claimed by Adam Fox of the New York Rangers. Adam Fox, I'm sorry, I had a brain, and not an aneurysm, brain fart. Adam Fox is a 2016 third-round pick taken 66 overall by the Calgary Flames. He was drafted by interesting enough, he was drafted by the Calgary Flames. However, his Young Guns card is a New York Rangers card. So he was moved to New York fairly quickly after he was drafted. This last week, he scored 6 points with 1 goal, 5 assists. He was credited with 1 hit, 3 block shots, and 21 minutes and 26 seconds of ice time per game. He is a 2019-2020 Upper Deck Series 1, card number 228, and his PSA 10 value over the last 90 days is $70.46. 36 sales in the last 90 days, and the last sale was January 23rd of 2025 for $53.66. He does have quite a bit of cards graded. I'm sure it's because he's in an original 6 team with the New York Rangers and he is in a Rangers uniform. 3,509 total cards graded with PSA. 2,057 of those cards are PSA 10s. 1,286 of those cards are PSA 9s. And that gives Mr. Fox a 58.6% gem rate on his card. Now, keep in mind, when I give PSA 9 pop counts and PSA 10 pop counts, but the gem rate only counts PSA 10s. So his PSA 9s are not considered in or factored into the gem rate percentage. Number 2, I told you who it was, Shea Theodore of the Vegas Golden Knights. We'll recap real quick. 2013 first round pick, 26 overall by the Anaheim Ducks. This week he scored another 5 points, 1 goal, 4 assists. He was credited with no hits and 3 blocked shots, and he averaged 23 minutes and 34 seconds of ice time per game this week. He is a 2015-2016 Upper Deck Series 2, card number 495. His PSA 10 is valued around $58.97 over the last 90 days with only 3 sales. So still not getting a lot of hobby love, never really has. His last sale, though, was this week on January 22nd, 2025 for $76.70. So that is driving up his price. If you look back to last week's video, his price is up from where it's going up from where it was. 115 cards graded with PSA, 49 PSA 10s, 52 PSA 9s, and holding steady at 42.6%. He had no new cards graded with PSA in the last week. However, he's on our Blue Liner of the Week list 2 weeks in a row, Mr. Shea Theodore. He always does a lot of things the right way, and I guess a good way to describe it would be like how Phil talks about Brady Tkachuk of the Ottawa Senators. He's a very good structured guy. He's out there on the power play. He plays good defense. He moves the puck well. So he does a lot of things on the ice. I don't think there's any team in the league that would not like to have Shea Theodore on their blue line. But for whatever reason, I mean, we do know that blue liners don't get a whole lot of love. That's where the whole inspiration was from the podcast perspective, is highlighting a couple guys every week who are doing good things in the NHL. But he just doesn't have a hobby following, probably because he was with the Ducks and then he went to the Vegas Golden Knights. And one of the things that is weird about the Vegas Golden Knights is most people are not fans of the team, they're fans of the players. So if he's not getting a ton of hobby love, even though they're one of the best teams in the league year in and year out, it could just be because they don't have a following like the Rangers or the Canadiens or teams like that. They're a fairly new team, so their fans are fairly new. Player fans, Vegas Moose players left and right, so you can't really get too attached to one guy on the team because you never know if he's going to be there next year or not. Now we're moving into the next portion of the show, the milestone marker portion of the show. And I know he's suspended right now, but I did want to talk about Connor McDavid. 24-25 of the NHL season has been a pretty good season for career milestones for guys, and I would be remiss if I didn't discuss Connor McDavid reaching the 1,000-point mark. I know it happened back in November 15th to be exact, and he is a phenomenal player. I've watched him play live. The last game I saw him play was in November of 2019, and he scored a hat trick in that game. So I specifically went there to watch him play in person, and what you see on TV is nothing compared to what you see with your own eyes inside a barn watching this guy play hockey. He's far and away above everybody else in the league. It's crazy to watch him play. And I think we should talk about him because I'm pretty sure we're not going to be done talking about him for a long, long time. So he scored his thousandth point on November 15th, 2024. He was the 99th player in the NHL to score 1,000 points. And he did it in just 659 games, making him the fourth fastest, technically the fifth if you count Gretzky twice, player to 1,000 games. Why do I say if you count Gretzky twice? Because Gretzky is the fastest player to 1,000 games with 424, but then he scored his next 1,000 points faster than anybody else in NHL history from 1 to 2,000. But if you don't factor that in, you're looking at McDavid, the fourth fastest player to ever do it, Gretzky at 424 games, Lemieux at 513 games, and Mike Bossy at 656 games. So Connor McDavid is like right there with how fast Mike Bossy got there. 3 games separation between their 1,000-point marks. But it's interesting, what should be of note is that Connor McDavid came into the league in 2015, 2016. And since he came into the league, so he's playing in his 10th season, but we're only going to look at 9 years because this year's not done yet. He's already won the Art Ross Trophy as the league's leading scorer 5 times. He's won the Lindsay Award, which we just talked about, 4 times. He's won the Hart Trophy, the MVP, 3 times. And he's won the Rocket Richard Trophy, the leading goal scorer in the league, 1 time. And he's one of only 3 players, I believe, to ever win the Conn Smythe Trophy, which is the MVP in the Stanley Cup Finals, by a losing team. One of only 3 players to win it by a losing team in the Stanley Cup. Connor McDavid won it last year when they lost in Game 7 to the Florida Panthers, who ended up winning the Stanley Cup. But Connor McDavid was named the MVP because of his crazy postseason run that he made. So where are we at now? Well, currently, McDavid has played in 688 games. He's got 355 goals, 692 assists for 1,047 points. So since November 15th, we're only in January, folks. He's scored an additional 47 points. He's clicking them off pretty fast. Almost, yeah, he's well over a point per game player, almost a 2 point per game player. He was drafted number 1 overall in the 2015 draft by the Edmonton Oilers. He's played 9 seasons in the NHL. He has scored 100 points 7 times. He's scored 30 goals 8 times, and that's currently on a consecutive streak. He's at 30 goals consecutive the last 8 years. He scored 40 goals 4 times, and he scored 60 goals once. And his one other thing to note is his 7 100-point seasons. He would be at 8. He almost had 8 seasons, and if he had done it, it would have been consecutive. Since his rookie season, the year after, he's scored 100 points almost every season except for one where he scored 97 points. So he was 3 points shy of having a 100-point season in 8 consecutive years. Pretty phenomenal. His best season so far, 22-23 season, 64 goals, 89 assists, 153 points. That's a lot. Connor McDavid is showing no signs of slowing down. He's clipping it off at a good pace. He's leading a good team. They're competitive every year. Nobody wants to play them. They can score goals like crazy. It's pretty crazy what they do in Edmonton. If you watch a lot of their games, they will split McDavid and Draisaitl up. They split them up on separate lines. But when they need to score, they'll put them together, and then they score almost at will. It's weird how you watch their games, but they try to create depth by putting them on 2 different lines. But when they really need to score, they put them on the same line. So it's pretty nuts. It is crazy the talent that they have. I mean, Leon Draisaitl doesn't even get the love that he deserves because he's in the shadow of McDavid. But McDavid, by the time it's all said and done, is going to be a hockey legend, I'm sure. We're very fortunate that we get to watch Connor McDavid, and any chance you get, you should watch him play. Now we're going to move into the next portion of the show, the Chasing Greatness portion, where we are following Alex Ovechkin in his quest to knock Wayne Gretzky off the goal-scoring mountain as the NHL's all-time leading goal scorer. This week, Alex Ovechkin played in 3 games. He scored 1 goal, last coming on January 23rd, 2025, against the Seattle Kraken, which brings his total now to 875 goals, and he is currently 19 behind Wayne Gretzky. So he's slowly but surely, since I've been following this, he's been clipping off about a goal a week, which isn't going to get it done this year, but he's playing 3 games a week. He's going to get a goal a week, and we're literally, I mean, even if he does that, we're 19 weeks away of Ovechkin playing before he ties Wayne Gretzky for the record. So that's where we're at on the Alex Ovechkin update on the Chasing Greatness portion. And now we'll be moving into the next portion of the show. This is one of my favorite parts of the show just because I get to show cards that I get coming in. And like I said, I don't show all of them, but I will showcase a few of them. I'm a bit of a 90s Gretzky insert collector. So the first card that you're seeing on screen, and I'll show you guys right here, is a 93 Stadium Club Finest Members Only Wayne Gretzky and a PSA 8. It's a beautiful card in person. PSA 8 does not do this card justice. It's kind of hard to tell with the glare. Try to get the glare off. But like I said last week, one of the things I want to do is tell you guys what I'm paying for these cards. So the PSA 8 Wayne Gretzky, I paid $15.14. Basically the cost of grading the card. The next card is something I found earlier today before I recorded this, but it was too good not to show. It's a 2005-2006 Upper Deck Phenomenal Beginnings Sidney Crosby with a swatch of game-used jersey. So it's from his rookie year. He's an 05-06 rookie. And it's in the BCCG slab with a grade 10. There's the little piece of jersey up in the corner. That's the Crosby card. Pretty cool. I found this at my LCS. I walk in, I ask them if they have any hockey cards. They tell me they have a couple. They don't even know where they are. I find them in the showcases, and I see a Crosby, but they're on the very bottom. So I ask, can I look at the card? They pull it out. I see 05-06. I say, oh, that's a rookie year card. So I look at the price tag, $20. So I got a rookie year card of Crosby, who's going to be a Hall of Famer, with a jersey swatch for $20. Can't beat it. Already graded, I guess. I don't know. Kind of funky how they did that one. But anyway, $20 for that card. Now, the next card is a pretty cool card, and I couldn't pass it up just because of how cheap it was. But it is a Metal Universe Precious Metal Gem Red out of 100, number 85 out of 100, Brady Tkachuk from 2022-2023 Metal Universe. Hard to see it on the screen, but oh man, this card is beautiful in person. And I picked that card up for $20.88. And lastly, I'm only going to show one, but I did buy 2 because I love Young Guns. And since I've been following the Ovechkin thing, I've always really kind of been into Tom Wilson. So finally I decided to have a look at what his Young Guns cards were going for. I bought 2 of them raw off of ComC, but I paid $20.72 for 72 cents for both, for one Tom Wilson Young Guns. I bought two, so I paid about $42 for both of them. Now I have two Tom Wilson Young Guns cards in my collection. I think he's a unsung hero, another structured guy, I guess. I'm becoming a fan of that term, and I'm also becoming a fan of those types of players. They just play the game the right way. They're always where they need to be. They score. They set up their teammates to score. And the game's a lot easier when those guys are on the ice. And I think that Tom Wilson is a big time player that does those types of things. It may never get him into the Hall of Fame, but he's quite the player. So I tried to keep this show a little bit shorter this week for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed making it. If you have any thoughts or some ways to make this better, shoot me an email. Reach out to me. My email is literally on the screen almost the entire time. oldschoolcards24@gmail.com. I'd love to connect with the community. That's why I make the videos. That's why I do the podcast. So I'd like to shout out my guys over at Hockey Cards Gong Show. I know that a lot of these cards I wouldn't be finding if I wasn't paying attention to what people were talking about in their chat room on Discord. And until next time, guys, keep collecting what you love.